So a new year brings lots of new things, right? Now is a good time for frustrated parents with picky eaters to help improve their kids' diets. Parents Magazine shared some proven strategies with Dr. Steve.
You know, lots of parents struggle with picky eaters, but we've got some strategies for dealing with your fussy eater. Joining me now with Picky Eater Rehab is Kara Corridan. She's the Health Director of Parents Magazine. Kara, good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, so I heard something that I can't believe is true. They actually have feeding clinics.
Absolutely.
For kids who don't eat?
Yes, and that's...
they're picky?
Well, because they are severely picky. So they are incredibly limited in what they will eat. And in that case, it really becomes a medical issue.
Oh, okay. So if it's a medical issue, then it's there.
Yes.
So it's not just like some club that people go to.
No,
Like, my
no.
kid's a picky eater. So when you talk about a picky eater, how do you know if your kid is that picky eater? Like, are the degrees, you know?
Well, you know, there's an easy test. Make a list of everything your child will eat. And it's a generous list. If your kid will eat a slice of cheese and a cheese stick, those are two separate things. If you come up with fewer than 20, you do have a picky eater on your hands.
Fewer than 20.
Fewer
okay,
than
so
20.
So a lot of people say, you know what, this kid's just attention seeking, just wants to get attention. Is this true, or is the kid just not like the way things taste?
There's an element to that. I think it's more about how much attention do you pay to it. So if your child finally eats something, don't go nuts. And if they won't, don't make it the hugest deal in the world.
Okay, so let's start with some tips to get your kids to eat if they're picky. One of the things you say is start small.
Yes.
Small size plates?
So this amount, this is the new thing that you want them to try. It should be something you could like flick off the plate, and then you can follow it up with something they will eat, and then you gradually give them a little more of the new food, a little less of the follow-up food, and then you eventually are down to just the new food.
Okay, so you could start small. But when you look at what they're eating all day, do you say to yourself, you know what, they're eating a lot of junk.
Yes.
They're drinking a lot of soda or fruit juice.
Exactly.
And so they're filling up on that. Or a lot of parents say, oh, my kid eats fruit all day, but that's all sugar all day long, right?
It is. And so then they're not really hungry. So there's no incentive for them to try something they're kind of wary of to begin with. So really watch the snacks and the liquids.
Yeah, keep them on a regimen. Okay, so one of the other ways to get them to eat, you say, is with texture. Explain this to me.
So if your child, if you're noticing the texture bothers them, you want to introduce a new flavor, puree it. And it will work even for like a 5-year-old. So that way, if it's smooth, that's one less obstacle. It's not like chunky. So for instance, with applesauce, you'd puree it, or you'd buy, you know, a very
smooth brand, right? Yeah.
And then you could work up to chunkier, and then you're working up to apple sticks and an apple.
Okay, so more likely they'll like the smooth stuff than the chunky stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, what about kids who like everything white beige? You know, like they'll eat the bread, they'll eat the pasta, and they'll eat the rice, but they don't eat anything else.
Right.
Right.
So you want to introduce a little color. So you start with, you know, they'll eat plain yogurt. So you work in a little bit of jam, and you gradually add to it. So now they're eating something that's actually kind of pinkish red.
All right. And then one of the other ways is to bring flavors in. So are we sweetening things up, or are we just adding flavor?
Well, I think the point is, don't assume that picky eaters like only bland food. So maybe, you know, if it's carrot sticks, drizzle a little bit of syrup on top, or if they will eat some grilled chicken, try a little bit of chili powder, and just introduce some flavors too.
All right. Well, if that doesn't work, I guess we got to do what my mother did, was that you're not getting off the table until you finish everything. But they say that's bad, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I think it could work.
All right. Well, it can be frustrating for parents who experience this, right? So how do they stick with it? How do you stick with it?
One thing to know is that, and we say this a lot, you have to stick with it. You have to try a new food like 10 to 15 times, but experts are saying around the 6th time, things start to click.
Okay.
So if you can really be patient. The other thing is, when you're introducing a new food, don't do it at dinner time. It kind of ruins the whole thing. Try it at snack time or lunch.
Right.
And then ultimately, it's all about baby steps and just really being patient and knowing that things are going, it's going to be a gradual process. It's going to take weeks and months to get your child where you want them to be.
Yeah, I think in the end they have way more stamina than we do, and they kind of know that, and they take advantage of us. All right, Kara, thanks so much for coming in from Parents Magazine.